The desert shimmered like glass, heat rising in waves off the cracked road. Dust clung to the sides of the Humvee as it rattled through a valley north of Kandahar, engine growling against the silence. The convoy moved slow, too slow. Sergeant Cole Jensen knew it, felt it in his gut. His right hand gripped the dash while the other stayed near the butt of his sidearm, thumb tapping a steady beat, tick, 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 like a warning trying to break through. 5 clicks to Phobie Raven, said Corporal Ellis from the back seat, peering at the GPS screen. Cole didn't answer. His eyes swept the ridge lines, scanning for movement. The terrain was too perfect. No wind, no birds, no locals, just quiet sand and jagged rock formations that looked back at him like teeth. And that silence. It was the kind that screamed. "Something's wrong," Cole said, voice tight. The driver, Private Monroe, gave a nervous laugh. "You always say that, Sarge." Cole didn't smile. "And how many times have I been wrong?" Monroe's grin faded. "0, sir." Cole's hand curled into a fist. Then, boom. The explosion ripped through the lead vehicle. Fire mushroomed skyward as shrapnel scattered across the convoy. The Humvee lifted off the ground like a toy, tossed into the air and slammed sideways onto its roof. Cole's world turned black. Then heat. Then screaming. He opened his eyes to fire licking across the windshield, flames licking oil from the cracked engine block. Blood dripped from his temple. His ears rang like cathedral bells. "Ellis!" he croaked, twisting in his seat. The corporal was slumped over, motionless, face pressed to the shattered screen. "Monroe!" Cole reached forward, groaning as pain surged up his left leg. The bone was wrong, bent where it shouldn't be. But he could see Monroe moving, coughing blood, trying to unbuckle himself. Cole fought through the seatbelt, unlatched himself, and dropped into broken glass and twisted metal. Every movement stabbed through his thigh like fire, but adrenaline kept him going. "We've got to move," he muttered, dragging Monroe by the straps of his vest. The heat was unbearable. The flames were too close. The back of the Humvee exploded again, hurling both men into the dirt. Cole's body bounced once, then went still. He blinked. A figure stood above him, shadowed by smoke and sunlight. Not a U.S. soldier. The man wore robes. A thin scar traced down from his eye to his jaw. He held an AK, but it hung lazily, almost casually in his hands. Cole reached for his pistol. Too late. The man didn't shoot. He just looked down at him, studied his face, then spoke in low English, with a rasp like broken stone. "You are marked," he said. "The sins you carry will follow you home." Then he vanished into the dust. Cole awoke 3 weeks later in a hospital bed in Ramstein, Germany. The ceiling was white, the lights sterile. Tubes ran into his arm. His leg was in traction. His mouth was dry as sand. "Jensen?" a nurse asked. He tried to speak, but only a whisper escaped. "My team?" The nurse hesitated. "I'm getting your CO." That silence. That pause. He already knew. 6 weeks later, Cole stepped off the plane onto the tarmac in Waco, Texas, cane under one arm, a folded flag under the other. There were no cheers, no banners, just dry wind and the distant bark of a baggage cart. His leg throbbed with every step, his soul with every breath. Home didn't feel like home. He had grown up just 30 miles outside the city, in a fading town where the only real jobs were at the feed mill or the Dollar General. His father's old house still stood, crooked and slouched, like a man too tired to keep pretending he was strong. Cole's sister Anna met him in the parking lot. Her arms were open, her eyes already red. "Cole," she whispered, pulling him close. He let her, for a second, then pulled away. "I need to be alone for a while." 3 nights later, He sat on the porch with a bottle of wild turkey, the cane resting against his thigh. A summer storm brewed on the horizon. Lightning flickered like war flashbacks across the field. He hadn't touched the pills the VA gave him. He didn't want to sleep. When he slept, they came back. Ellis, Monroe, the others, all burned and broken. He stared at the folded flag on the porch rail. "You were their leader," he muttered. "You failed them." He closed his eyes, and the man's voice echoed in the dark. "The sins you carry will follow you home." Cole sat up straight, heart pounding. That voice, that line, it had not been a dream. He opened his laptop, dug into classified after-action reports, filtered through recon data from the Kandahar region. He was looking for something, anything, that could explain the man who spared him. The scarred one. At 2:00 a.m., he found a grainy satellite image from a drone feed. A village near the blast site, civilians gathering around the wreckage, and there, blurred but distinct, stood a man in robes, rifle at his side, looking up into the camera. Scar down the face, the same expression. Below the image was a name. Mahmoud al-Rami, status KIA. Drone strike confirmed, July 18th. But Cole had seen him alive, after that date. He stared at the screen, confused, angry, dread crawling under his skin. Then his inbox dinged. New email. "We need to talk." No name. Just coordinates. Local. Texas. Cole blinked. Opened it. No body of text. Just a line. "He followed you home." The drive to the coordinates was long and empty. Cole's truck rattled along a two-lane road that hadn't seen a fresh coat of paint in years. Tall oaks leaned over the shoulder, their limbs twitching in the breeze like watchers. He clutched the wheel tighter than he needed to. The message had been clear. No name, no signature, just numbers and a warning. "He followed you home." It made no sense. Al-Rami was confirmed dead. The Pentagon classified it, Cole remembered. A drone strike buried the man and a half-dozen others under rubble in Kandahar. But what he saw, that scar, that face, it was burned into his memory, more vivid than any photograph. A false report? A look-alike? Or something worse? His leg ached with every push on the gas pedal, a throb that reminded him how real everything had been. By the time he turned down the dirt road toward the drop point, the sun was bleeding into the horizon, painting the fields orange and red like open wounds. The place looked abandoned. A rotting barn stood a few hundred yards back, sagging like the land had lost faith in its own structures. Cole slowed the truck and reached under his seat. The Glock 19 was loaded, cleaned, ready. He stepped out, cane in one hand, pistol in the other. The wind picked up. "Come on," he muttered. "If this is a trap, let's get to it." The barn door creaked open slowly, like it had been expecting him. Inside, the air was thick with dust and motor oil. Rusted tools hung on pegboards like forgotten relics. An old tractor sat in the far corner under a tarp. Then he saw her. A woman in her 40s, wearing tactical boots, jeans, and a black field jacket, stood at the center of the room. Short hair, no visible weapon, but she carried herself like someone who could break his wrist in 3 seconds flat. "You Jensen?" she asked. He raised the gun slightly. "Who's asking?" "Name's Rachel Vega, DHS." She held up a badge without flinching. Off-duty, unofficial, and completely unauthorized. Cole lowered the weapon slightly but didn't holster it. "You the one who sent the message?" "No, but I intercepted it. Thought you'd show." Cole's eyes narrowed. "What the hell's going on?" Rachel paced, checking the barn's windows before speaking again. 2 months ago, we got a ping on a low-frequency SAT channel used by Iranian intelligence. Guess where it bounced?" Cole didn't blink. Waco, she said. That's not possible, Cole replied. Oh, it gets better. She pulled a folder from her jacket and tossed it onto a wooden workbench. Inside were photos, security footage, blurry but clear enough. One showed a man in line at a gas station. The scar down the face was unmistakable. Cole's blood ran cold. This can't be him, he muttered. Rachel stepped closer. I thought it was a glitch in facial rec, until we got 2 more matches in nearby counties. The guy's bouncing around rural Texas, blending in, staying low. He's supposed to be dead. She nodded. Maybe someone lied, or maybe someone else wanted us to believe he was dead. Either way, your convoy gets hit, your entire team dies, and this guy surfaces on your home turf weeks later? That's not coincidence. Cole leaned back against a beam, heart hammering. Why me? Why follow me? Rachel's voice softened. I was hoping you could tell me. Back at the house, Cole sat at the kitchen table, a beer sweating onto the wood. The photos lay spread before him. His mind reeled. His sister, Anna, entered quietly, watching him from the doorway. You okay? He looked up. She didn't ask about the gun on the table. She had seen too much to be surprised anymore. Just something from overseas, he said. One of those loose ends. She hesitated. You're not doing that thing again, are you? What thing? Shutting down. Living in the attic with a bottle and a war no one here understands. He didn't answer. Anna walked over and gently touched his shoulder. You're not alone, Cole. I know you think you have to fix everything on your own, but you don't. He clenched his jaw. She meant well, but she couldn't understand. Not really. A war lived in him that never ended. And now, it might have followed him back. The next morning, he drove to the last known sighting Rachel had given him, a hardware store 2 towns over. The security footage showed Al-Rami walking out with fertilizer, gloves, a gas can. Cole entered the store, badge from his army days hanging around his neck. A young kid in an apron behind the counter looked up. Help you, sir? Cole pulled a printed photo from his jacket. This man come in recently? The kid studied it, nodding slowly. Yeah, he did. Came in Tuesday, asked about industrial batteries. Weird guy, accented, didn't talk much. Did he buy anything? Just paid cash and left. Which way did he go? The kid pointed east. Back toward the highway. Took an old red van. Cole's heart sank. Rachel had been right. This was no accident. Al-Rami wasn't just hiding. He was preparing. That night, Rachel met him again, this time in an old diner with one flickering neon sign out front. They sat in a back booth while an elderly waitress poured coffee that tasted like burnt engine oil. We've got a real problem, Rachel said quietly. Bigger than a ghost terrorist in rural Texas? She slid a page across the table. It was a hand-drawn map. Al-Rami's trail crisscrosses 2 things, agriculture supply depots and water treatment plants. Cole scanned the lines, realization dawning. You think he's building a chemical bomb? Rachel nodded grimly. Or worse, he's already built it. Cole leaned back, breath leaving him like a gut punch. This can't be coincidence, he whispered. He didn't just pick me. He wanted me to come home. He wanted me to know. Rachel's eyes locked onto his. Why you, Cole? He looked down, his voice a ghost. Because I was supposed to kill him. I had the shot. But there were kids nearby. So I waited. He got away. Rachel's voice was cold. He remembers. Cole stared out the window. The road shimmered in the heat, just like that day in the valley. He's not done, Cole said. This isn't revenge. This is a message. Rachel leaned in. Then we need to figure it out. Fast. Just before midnight, Cole returned to his father's old house. He climbed the attic stairs with the map in one hand and dread in the other. He turned on the light. The folded flag sat on the shelf. Beside it, a box he didn't remember bringing back. Dusty. Sealed. Military grade. He knelt and opened it. Inside was a file. His file. Deployment logs, recon reports, even drone footage from the day of the IED attack. He flipped to the last page and froze. Mahmoud al-Rami, American contact confirmed. A name was blacked out, but he could still read the initials underneath. CJ. Cole stared at the file like it was a live grenade. His name, his initials, on the final page of a military intelligence dossier linking him to a known terrorist? It made no sense. He had never spoken to al-Rami, had never relayed intelligence. He had spent his entire deployment fighting men like him. Unless... He closed his eyes, and the memories came flooding in. The drone feed, the children in the alley, the missed shot. Could they really think he had helped the enemy because he showed mercy? Cole's hands shook as he shoved the file back into the box. He had to find Rachel, had to clear his name, before someone else decided he was guilty. But just as he reached for his phone, the attic light flickered and went out. Darkness. Then, a creak downstairs. Cole froze. His training kicked in. He slid the Glock from his waistband, dropped low, and moved slowly toward the attic door. His leg throbbed, but he gritted his teeth through the pain. Another creak. Definitely inside the house. He descended the steps silently, keeping his back to the wall, the barrel of the gun leading the way. The living room was empty. The front door was ajar, swaying slightly in the warm night breeze. He stepped outside, but there was no one there. Just crickets, and the echo of his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. Then he saw it. A white envelope, taped to the front of his truck. No name, just a message in block letters. We are watching. Stop digging. Later that night, Cole met Rachel in a burned-out parking lot behind a shuttered auto body shop. The back roads here were quiet, forgotten. So was the surveillance. He handed her the redacted file. She skimmed it, her eyes darkening. "They're trying to pin this on you," she said. Cole nodded. "And they're watching the house. Someone left this." He handed her the envelope. Rachel examined it carefully. No fingerprints, no fibers, clean. "They're pros. Or they think you're worth framing," she said. "Either way, this isn't just about al-Rami anymore." Cole folded his arms. "You ever hear of a unit called Ghost Signal?" Rachel blinked. "Black Ops Digital Warfare Unit, operated under a CIA shell until it was supposedly disbanded. Why?" Cole pointed at the bottom of the file. "Look at the final stamp." Rachel flipped to the last page again. There it was. Operation Ghost Signal, classified level red. Her jaw tightened. If this was ghost signal work, then someone high up is scrubbing tracks. This whole mission may have been off books. "And now I'm the liability," Cole said. Rachel stared at him. "We need to find someone who was part of this op. Someone who didn't vanish after the war." Cole's voice dropped. "I know one name." 3 days later, they reached a remote cabin in the Texas Hill Country, miles off any paved road, hidden between pine trees and high cliffs. A blue tarp fluttered over the roof. The fence was homemade from rusted car hoods. Cole stepped out of the truck slowly, leaning on the cane. "His name's Travis Booker," he said. "He used to run point on SIGINT for Ghost Signal. Knew every dark channel from Syria to Seoul. We did one joint op before the program disappeared. After that, he went full rogue." "You trust him?" Rachel asked. Cole snorted. "Hell no. Booker answered the door barefoot, shirtless, holding a double-barrel shotgun. "Cole Jensen," he said, grinning without warmth. "Alive and hobbling. Thought the IED got you." "It got everyone else." Booker eyed Rachel, then the gun on her hip. "She alphabet?" "DHS," she said. "That's cute," he muttered. "Come in. No sudden moves." Inside, the cabin was equal parts prepper bunker and hacker cave. Servers hummed in the corner. Radios clicked through frequencies. A wall of maps and Polaroids lined the back room like a madman's scrapbook. Cole didn't waste time. "You ever hear of an op tagged CJ tied to Al Rami?" Booker went still. "That's not something you say out loud," he muttered. "Even in here." Rachel stepped forward. "Did Cole leak anything? Did someone use his name?" Booker looked at them both. "No," he said finally. "But someone used his clearance code. Someone inside Ghost Signal forged a link, so if it ever came out, blame would fall on the boots on the ground." "Why him?" Cole asked. "Because you showed hesitation. The hesitation was logged. The moment you didn't take the shot, someone used your moral pause as a cover to route data elsewhere. And when the op got dirty, they buried it." Rachel's eyes were sharp. "So this whole thing, it's a smokescreen." Booker nodded. "They used your name to move intelligence across war zones, probably fed it to mercs or militia groups, hell, maybe even private contractors looking to destabilize the region. But Al Rami? He remembers your face. That's personal." Cole swallowed hard. "Can you trace where he's been since landing here?" Booker cracked his knuckles and turned toward the bank of monitors. "Give me an hour, and a lot of coffee." They waited on the porch, storm clouds churning in the sky. Cole lit a cigarette he had not touched in years. Rachel stood beside him, silent. Finally, she asked, "Why didn't you shoot?" He looked at her. "There were 3 kids, playing in the rubble. I saw them too late. If I had taken the shot, they'd be gone. I froze, and he got away." "You did the right thing," she said. "I'm not so sure anymore," he said, his voice low. "If I had killed him, maybe my team would still be alive." Rachel looked out at the horizon. "Or maybe someone else would have taken his place. The war doesn't end with one bullet." Just then, Booker opened the door. "I've got something." Inside, he pulled up a surveillance map. 3 confirmed sightings of Al Rami, each within 2 miles of Lake Whitney Water Treatment Facility. You've got 3 depots near it, a commuter bus station, and a fireworks warehouse. Rachel paled. "That's a kill zone." Booker nodded. "One good release into that water supply, or a bomb loaded with industrial nitrate at the right pressure, and you're talking mass casualty. Thousands. Maybe more." Cole leaned in. "When?" Booker shrugged. "My guess? He's waiting for something. Or someone." Cole looked at the red blinking dots on the map. "He wants me to see it happen." Rachel straightened. "Then we get there first." Booker tossed Cole a burner phone. "Whatever happens next, don't call me. Don't come back. This rabbit hole? It's deeper than you think." Cole caught the phone, nodded, and turned toward the door. That night, driving away from the cabin, the rain finally came. Cole stared ahead at the winding road, jaw clenched. "You okay?" Rachel asked. He didn't answer, because in the shadows of his memory, something shifted. A moment from the war, something he had forgotten, slipped back into his mind like a snake under the door. A file, a voice, a name. And for the first time, Cole realized something. It wasn't just someone using his name. It was someone he knew. The rain followed them back to Waco like a funeral dirge. Each drop hammered Cole's windshield like it had a message to deliver, one he wasn't ready to hear. Rachel sat beside him in silence, flipping through the tactical folder they had built. Maps, sightings, timing. It was all there, but none of it explained the gnawing at Cole's spine, the pressure, the heat behind his eyes. He was remembering things that didn't fit. Not combat memories, not trauma. Gaps. Gaps where names should be. Moments he now suspected had been buried on purpose. The water treatment facility stood near the edge of town, a low utilitarian building surrounded by a chain-link fence. It shared a backlot with a decommissioned industrial site and had one security guard who looked more bored than alert. They parked 3 blocks away. "We'll do recon on foot," Rachel said, pulling a cap low over her forehead. "Discreet." Cole nodded, slipping the Glock into his belt. "I'll circle east," he said. "Check the perimeter. Give me 20. Rachel hesitated. "You sure you're good alone?" He gave her a look. She nodded. "Just don't play cowboy." Cole moved through the brush, staying low. Every step ignited pain in his leg, but he welcomed it now. The pain kept him anchored, present, real. Unlike the visions clawing at his brain, a voice, deep, American, had echoed in that buried memory. "You just keep your eyes open, Cole. Let me handle the rest." It wasn't Al Rami. It was someone he trusted back then. A voice from his own side. Near the facility's eastern gate, Cole paused. A security camera rotated mechanically over the lot. Nothing unusual. Then he spotted it. A red van, half covered with a tarp, parked just behind the loading dock. It was the same van the hardware store clerk had described. He crouched behind a dumpster, raised his phone, and snapped a photo. Sent it to Rachel. Cole. Van confirmed. Eastern lot. Possibly loaded. A reply came quick. Rachel. Back up 15 mins out. Wait for signal. But Cole didn't wait. Because at that moment, the loading dock door began to rise, and out stepped Al Rami. No disguise, no robes, wearing jeans, a Texas Rangers baseball cap, and a jacket from an American college Cole didn't recognize. He walked like he belonged here, like he owned the place. But it wasn't just that. It was who came out after him. A man in a black windbreaker, tall, lean, clean-shaven. And when Cole saw his face, the breath left his lungs. Captain Logan Price, his old commanding officer. The man who trained him, who signed off on their final mission. The man he had last seen being airlifted out of Kandahar with a mild concussion 2 weeks before the blast. Alive, in Texas, working with the enemy. Cole ducked, adrenaline igniting his chest. For a second, the world blurred. Memory and reality collapsed into each other. Now he remembered. Back in Kandahar, after the mission where Cole refused to take the shot. Price had called him aside. "You're too soft, Jensen. That hesitation's gonna get people killed." And later, when the report was filed, Cole's name was the one marked on the drone feed logs. It was Price who had rerouted the clearance code. He wasn't just part of Ghost Signal. He was running it. Cole backed away slowly, knees trembling, not from fear, but fury. His cane caught a pipe, knocking it into the metal siding of the dumpster. The clang rang out like a bell. Al Rami turned sharply. So did Price. Then the alarm sounded. Cole ran. Fast as his bad leg could carry him. Behind him, shouts erupted. Footsteps gave chase. He hit the street and vaulted into a construction zone, ducking beneath plastic sheeting and stacks of rebar. Bullets cracked the air behind him, sparking off steel. Rachel's voice hit his earpiece. "Cole, what happened?" "Compromised," he gasped. "It's Price! Logan Price is with him! Ghost Signal's alive!" "Are you hit?" "No, just rattled. They know I know. I'm rerouting back up to intercept. Don't stop moving." Cole climbed over a chain-link fence and dropped into an alley, limping full speed toward an old laundromat 2 blocks down. He kicked open the back door, stumbled in, and locked it. The spinning hum of dryers was deafening. Inside, a homeless man sat with a grocery bag full of tattered clothes, blinking at Cole like he had fallen from the ceiling. Cole raised a finger. Not a word. The man nodded and went back to watching soap opera reruns. 15 minutes later, Rachel pulled up in an unmarked DHS sedan. Cole slid into the passenger seat, dripping sweat. "You're bleeding," she said. "It's just the old scar." She handed him a water bottle. "Tell me what you saw." He took a breath. "It's Price. He's working with Al-Rami. They're prepping something inside that van, probably for transport. We need to move. Tonight." Rachel clenched the wheel. "If Price is involved, this isn't just terrorism," she said. "It's a deep state operation gone rogue." Cole nodded. "He picked me to be the fall guy because I was the only one who didn't sign off on their plan. I questioned the op. I hesitated. And when it all went to hell, they buried it. And me with it." That night, they didn't sleep. They returned to Booker's hideout. "What do you know about Price?" Rachel asked as she pored over digital dossiers. Booker frowned. "Logan Price? I thought he was dead." "Not dead," Cole said. "Just quiet." Booker tapped furiously on his keyboard. "He ran logistics for 3 ghost signal deployments, but then he disappeared after a Senate inquiry into black site abuses. His record was sealed. That means he got absorbed into a darker program or paid off to vanish." "Can we expose him?" Rachel asked. Booker grimaced. "Not unless you want to end up in a river. This guy's protected." "Then we go around him," Cole said. "We stop the van, we stop the attack, and we bring Al-Rami in alive." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Alive?" Cole's jaw tensed. "I want him to look me in the eye and explain how the hell this happened." Later, in the stillness of the night, Cole stepped outside the cabin and stared at the stars. His hands trembled. He was not the man who went to war. That man was already buried, somewhere back in the dust and smoke of Afghanistan. But what had taken his place? A weapon? A warning? Or something broken beyond repair? Rachel joined him, silent at first. "You ever think," she said, "that the reason they chose you is because they knew you wouldn't just walk away?" Cole stared out at the dark hills. "I think they chose me because they thought I'd stay silent." He turned to her, eyes hard now. They were wrong. The plan was simple, which meant it would go to hell in 6 different ways. Rachel laid it out over the hood of her car, the map of Waco pinned down by a flashlight and a roll of duct tape. "Price and Al-Rami are likely moving tonight," she said. "The water treatment center is too risky in daylight. We'll intercept the van on Highway 6 here, just before it crosses the Brazos River Bridge." Cole scanned the route. It was rural, sparse traffic, plenty of blind curves and no cell coverage. "Perfect spot for an ambush," he muttered. Rachel nodded. "Exactly. We'll be waiting here, in a utility pullout. We disable the van, disable the driver, and extract the payload." Booker stood nearby, nervously sipping a Red Bull. "Just one question. What if the payload's not chemical? What if it's biological?" Rachel exchanged a glance with Cole. "Then we're screwed," she said. By nightfall, they were in position. The sedan they used was disguised as a construction vehicle, hazard lights blinking quietly. A drone camera hovered half a mile down the road, scanning approaching headlights. Cole crouched in the brush just off the highway, night vision clipped to his eye. His finger curled around the Glock's grip, his heart surprisingly steady. He had imagined this confrontation 100 times, but he never expected it to happen on home soil. "Vehicle inbound," Booker crackled through the earpiece. "Red van, 1 mile out, slow speed, 2 occupants." Cole exhaled. This was it. No more hiding. No more ghosts. just choices. The van crested the hill, headlights slicing through the dark. Rachel knelt beside the road, a spike strip hidden beneath a thin sheet of leaves. She tugged the rope and dragged it into position. The van hit at full speed. Crack thump. Tires exploded. The vehicle swerved violently and skidded into a ditch, steam bursting from the hood. Cole was moving before it stopped. He limped hard down the slope, gun raised, adrenaline drowning the pain. The driver door flew open. Al Rami stumbled out, coughing. He looked older now, leaner, more weathered, but the scar down his face was unmistakable. He locked eyes with Cole and smiled. "Sergeant Jensen," he said, calm as a man meeting an old friend. "You are persistent." "Hands where I can see them," Rachel barked, flanking from the passenger side. Al Rami raised his hands, but the passenger door opened and Logan Price emerged behind it, already drawing a Sig Sauer from his coat. Cole didn't hesitate. Bang! Bang! The first shot missed. The second tore through Price's shoulder, spinning him sideways and sending him sprawling into the gravel. Rachel rushed Al Rami, zip-tying his wrists and forcing him to the ground. Cole kept his weapon aimed at Price, who lay groaning, blood darkening his shirt. "You just couldn't stay buried," Price muttered. Cole stepped closer. "You used my name, my record. You turned me into your scapegoat." "You think it matters now?" Price spat. "Nobody's coming. Nobody's gonna listen to a broken vet and a rogue DHS agent. They'll write it off, like they always do." "Not this time," Cole said. Booker's voice crackled in. "I've got full video feed. Uploading to 5 mirror servers now. Waco PD dispatch just picked up an anonymous tip about a potential bioterror attack. They're rolling code 3 to your location." Rachel grinned. "Smile for the cameras, Logan." But as the sirens wailed in the distance, Al Rami spoke softly. "You think this ends here?" he asked. "You think you've won?" Cole turned toward him. "You failed, Mahmoud." Al Rami shook his head. "I planted the fear. That's all it takes. A whisper here, a rumor there. Your people will do the rest. You'll turn on yourselves. I simply accelerated the unraveling." He leaned closer, his voice nearly a whisper. "And you, Jensen, you brought the fire back with you." Cole stared at him, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel rage. He felt clarity. "You're wrong," he said. "I brought back the truth." 2 hours later, Price and Al Rami were in federal custody. Rachel debriefed DHS. Booker wiped their digital trail clean. The van was confirmed to contain a sealed chemical dispersal device, deadly if triggered in an urban water supply. Cole sat on the tailgate of a medic truck, the emergency lights pulsing red and blue across his face. He stared up at the stars, leg wrapped, knuckles bruised. Rachel walked over and handed him a bottle of water. "We got him," she said. Cole nodded. "But it's not over," he replied. Rachel tilted her head. "You think there's more?" "I don't think," Cole said quietly. "I know. Price was just a piece, a field player. Somebody gave him orders. Somebody's still out there." Rachel nodded slowly. "Then what do you want to do?" Cole looked out toward the highway, toward the open road, toward the unknown. "I want to find them." 3 days had passed since the van hit the ditch and Price hit the ground. The media coverage came in soft and strange. A possible act of domestic terrorism had been neutralized with no casualties. A Department of Homeland Security statement praised the efforts of anonymous field agents. No names, no photos, no mention of Cole Jensen, which was exactly how they wanted it. "I still don't get it," Rachel said, scrolling through the news on her burner tablet as they sat in the corner of a Forgotten Love's truck stop cafe. They caught 2 of the most wanted men on U.S. soil, and the story dies in 48 hours. Cole stirred his coffee. Because someone up top made a call. Rachel nodded. Someone's scared of what happens if this goes public. Outside, rain fell in sheets against the window. Texas was bleeding its storms again. Cole looked worn, but not broken. For the first time, he sat without scanning exits, without one hand on his weapon. He was exhausted, but present. "I've been thinking," he said. Rachel glanced up. "Always dangerous." He smiled faintly. "When I was in rehab, after the blast, they gave me this notebook, told me to write letters to my fallen team. Unsent. Therapeutic, I guess." "Did you?" "No," he said. "Not one." Rachel waited. "I couldn't. I didn't know what to say. How do you apologize for surviving?" Her hand reached across the table, steady, grounding. "You did more than survive, Cole." He looked out the window. "Maybe." Then his phone buzzed. Not the burner. His personal phone. No number. Just a text. "We should talk. Coordinates. Langley, Virginia." He stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. Rachel leaned over. "You recognize the number?" He shook his head. "No. But whoever it is, they're not hiding. These coordinates are inside CIA territory." Rachel narrowed her eyes. "It's bait. Or a breadcrumb." "Either way," Cole said, "I need to know who else was involved. Who was giving Price orders?" She studied his face. "You're not done with this, are you?" "No," he said quietly. "But you don't have to come." Rachel sipped her coffee, then smirked. "You think I'm letting you meet spooks alone in D.C.? Come on." They flew out the next morning using forged credentials. Booker booked the flights and cleared their digital tracks. Langley's perimeter was tight, but not impenetrable for someone like Rachel. They met their contact at a coffee shop a few blocks from the edge of CIA headquarters. A man in a navy coat, flat cap, and mirrored sunglasses waited at a corner booth. He was clean-cut, early 60s, with a voice like cold glass. "You're early," he said as Cole approached. "You're not what I expected," Cole replied. "Good," the man said. "You shouldn't know what to expect." Rachel slid into the booth beside him. "You got a name?" He ignored her. "I read the debrief, the real one," he said to Cole. "Not the version they fed Congress." "Then you know Price was just a piece," Cole replied. The man nodded. "A piece and a pawn. Ghost Signal wasn't a program. It was a bridge, a handshake between intel operators and private contractors looking to ignite foreign proxy wars. You weren't supposed to find that out." "But I did." The man leaned in. "And now the question is, what do you want to do with that knowledge?" Cole didn't blink. "What's the alternative?" "Go home. Let it die. Let Price and al-Rami vanish into a black cell. You've cleared your name. You won. You can walk away." Rachel scoffed. "And what? Let the rest of them keep playing shadow games?" The man sighed. "Ghost Signal wasn't the only bridge. There are others. You burn one, the rest get smarter, quieter." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were files. Dozens. Black sites. False flags. Surveillance programs run on American citizens under the label of predictive threat modeling. "This is the tip," the man said. "You open that door, you won't come back through it." Cole stared at the folder, then at the man. "Why give it to me?" "Because I was like you once," he said, "and because I can't carry it anymore." He stood. "One more thing," he said. "The man who funded Ghost Signal? Who gave Price his final orders?" Cole looked up. "Name?" he asked. The man nodded. "Senator Blake Merrill." He dropped a matchbook on the table from the Jefferson Club, an elite D.C. institution. "Follow that, and you'll find your head of the snake." Then he walked out. That night, Cole sat alone in a cheap motel room off the Beltway, staring at the folder. Rachel knocked once, then let herself in. "You okay?" she asked. "I could have been," he said. She walked over, sat beside him. "If you do this," she said, "you won't just be hunting a man. You'll be declaring war on a system that eats its own." "I know," Cole said. "But—" He opened the folder. "There's still fire in me." The Jefferson Club sat just off K Street, nestled between marble front think tanks and hush-money law firms. Membership cost more than a year's salary for the average American. Inside, crystal chandeliers, polished oak, cigars aged longer than most marriages. Cole Jensen walked through the front door with a forged invitation, tailored jacket, and the eyes of a man who had already died once and wasn't afraid to try again. At the bar, Senator Blake Merrill held court. Gray hair swept back, navy suit, smile sharp as a scalpel. He laughed with two lobbyists and a defense contractor whose face Cole had seen in the folder. "Make a move now," Rachel said softly through the earpiece, "and this place will eat you alive. You sure you want to do this in the open?" "No," Cole said. "But I want him to know I'm not hiding anymore." He approached slowly, deliberately, every limp a reminder of what this man had taken from him. Merrill saw him coming, the smile not fading. "Well," the senator said, "if it isn't the man of the hour." The other men looked confused, but Merrill waved them off. "Gentlemen, would you excuse us? I think I owe Sergeant Jensen a private moment." Cole followed him into a side lounge, velvet curtains falling behind them. "You've been busy," Merrill said, pouring bourbon from a crystal decanter. "You sent my team to die," Cole replied. Merrill nodded, as if acknowledging a minor mistake. "I sent soldiers into war. The difference is often lost in translation. You used my identity, my record. You branded me a traitor." "No," Merrill said, sipping. "I branded you an asset. You hesitated. That made you useful." Cole stepped forward, eyes burning. "Useful for what?" "To prove the system works," Merrill said, swirling his drink. "We let you chase your little ghosts. You stopped the van. The bad guys are locked away. The press didn't get a whiff. Clean win." Cole's voice was low. "There's a copy of the ghost signal files with a senator from Massachusetts. He opens the floor on Monday." Merrill didn't blink. "No, there isn't." Cole's jaw clenched. Merrill set the glass down and leaned in. "You're a soldier, Jensen. That means you don't get to change the system. You fight, you bleed, and you disappear. That's your job." Cole stared at him, and finally said, "Not anymore." The next morning, Rachel uploaded the entire Ghost Signal dossier to 3 public transparency forums and scheduled leaks to every major news outlet. Within hours, the headlines spread like wildfire. CIA Black Op used American soldiers in foreign proxy scheme. Whistleblower documents link Senator Merrill to off-book kill programs. Senator Merrill called it a fabrication. His office issued denials, but the documents were too specific, too verifiable. He was summoned before a closed congressional inquiry within 24 hours. Meanwhile, Cole sat in a cafe outside D.C., watching it all unfold on TV. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just breathed. Rachel sat across from him, stirring coffee slowly. "You burned it all down," she said. "No," he replied. "I just held up the match. The fire was already there." She nodded. "What now?" "I go home," he said. "Back to Texas." "To start over?" "To rebuild." He looked out the window. But not as the man who left. A week later, Cole returned to his father's old house. The cane still waited by the door, but he barely needed it now. He walked to the attic, found the folded flag, and this time, he sat down with that old rehab notebook. He wrote to every man in his unit, to Ellis, to Monroe, to the ones whose faces haunted his sleep. He didn't write apologies. He wrote truth, that he remembered, that he fought for them, that they mattered, and that their story wouldn't end in silence. On the last page he wrote, "You were brave. I was broken. But I'm still here. You were lost. And now, I am found." He folded the notebook, set it next to the flag, then stepped out into the morning light. Epilogue. 6 months later, Cole started a nonprofit for veterans returning from covert deployments. No government red tape, no staged PR, just boots-on-the-ground support, therapy, housing, truth. The project caught fire. People listened. The fire that once consumed him had become something else, a signal, not a ghost, not a weapon, but a beacon.